I just want to ask one more question. I've already talked for too long before we turn it over to the audience. And that was a video that really has been making the rounds quite a bit. And this took place at a press conference after the meeting between Biden and Putin. And President Biden was giving a speech, and he was talking about Russia and their interference in foreign elections. And without a hint of irony, he said to the assembled journalists, how would it be if the United States was actively interfering in the elections of other countries? And he described that as the actions of a dying state trying to cling to great power status. I was shocked that someone with so much foreign policy experience as President Joe Biden could say something like that. And I'm interested in your reaction to it.
You know, I made this comment on a Bill Maher show maybe 4 years ago or so, when Bill asked me, did I know Joe Biden? And I said, well, I know Joe Biden somewhat, but I know him well through Colin Powell because they worked together for a long time. Colin Powell would call Joe Biden rather than Dick Lugar, who was then chairman of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. Biden was the minority member at that time, because Biden knew the issues better than Lugar. Condi Rice, the national security advisor, actually got mad at Powell for doing that. Why don't you go to Dick? Why don't you go to Dick? Why are you going to Joe? He's a Democrat. Powell said, I'm going to the man that knows the issues, damn it. But Joe had a tendency to let his, as we used to say in the military, rear end overload his mouth sometimes. And he had a loquacity that as a congressman was not necessarily damaging, although a couple of times it did do some damage to him. But as president, ooh, bad deal. Somebody shut him up, whatever. I've been worried about that ever since he took the oath. And I think maybe we saw a little bit of that. And yet at the same time, I know how the Democrats struggle today, the Democrats as a body struggle today with bona fides in the national security issue, with the American people think is important. And so they have to say things. Why hasn't he, for example, told Secretary Blinken to get finished with this review on Cuba policy and return to what the policy was under President Obama, and then improved it from there? I think it's all about these bona fides in national security, and they don't feel like they can surrender them. They need to start thinking beyond that. They need to think strategically. They need to think about what they're doing and what they're creating out there. And I don't think they're doing that. The Quincy Institute, of which I'm a senior fellow, had an hour-long conference today. And one of the things everyone agreed on was the United States civilian government, not the military, unfortunately, does strategy almost not at all. It does its inbox. It does tomorrow morning. It does not think strategically. By the way, I think that's probably the worst deficit we have vis-a-vis China, because they do think strategically. But we need to start thinking strategically. What is it we're creating? And is what we're creating worse than what we're trying to take out politically or otherwise in the short term? Because the long term is going to be hideous.